Welcome to Classic Southern Gospel Reviews. My name's Samuel, and today we'll be reviewing a classic Southern Gospel album. This one today comes from the Gaither Vocal Band from 1984. It's actually called, when they were called the New Gaither Vocal Band, which at least now there's nothing new about it, but of course this is 4 years into their long run. This album is called A New Point of View, and it only features 9 songs, which usually I hate when they do that, because seriously, 10 songs at the least. But the song selection on this is amazing. Right now you're listening to the opening track, which is Everlasting Tree. It's a fun, upbeat song. I really enjoy it. If you actually have a chance to pick up this album somewhere, I got it for free from my grandma's shelf full of records. But if you do have a chance to look at this album or listen to it, you'll find that a lot of these songs fade out, which was a thing in the 80s. You don't find that a lot now today. Everlasting Tree is one of them, and it has that early contemporary sound to it. A lot of these songs in these albums were considered contemporary for their day and may still push the edge of contemporary even 33 years later. But this was released on Dayspring Records, which is Word Records contemporary label. Now, of course, like I said, these days these songs aren't as contemporary as they are now. In fact, Word Records is also the parent company of Old Canaan Records, and so they, of course, produced a myriad of what we in the spectrum of Christian music. And this album is nothing like that. After Everlasting Tree is a familiar Gaither Vocal Band song. It's their original cut of Alpha and Omega. And if you're an inexperienced group or singer, this would be the arrangement for you, because it's almost all unison until you get to the chorus, and the harmonies are very simple through the chorus. And it's pretty interesting, because throughout near the end of the chorus there's a choir that comes in, and you're listening to right now will fade out through there. The group fades out throughout the choir, and the choir carries on for a few more bars and then fades out. It's kind of an interesting way to end a song, but I do like how they added the orchestra in there. It's amazing. The next track is actually the title track, New Point of View. Now, for me, it's just hard to listen to now. To each his own. That's why we do reviews. But New Point of View, it talks about in first person, a man going up in a hot air balloon and seeing just how, I guess you could say, pitiful our lives are, how much we think on the here and now and not on heavenly things, which there you can find the spiritual application. It is hard to find, but it is there. The next song is Dream On, which is another popular song that they've recorded. Ernie Haas has recorded it. And it's mostly a solo by their new at the time, their new tenor, Larnell Harris, and he does an excellent job on it. And it is mostly solo with I couldn't tell whether it's the rest of the quartet or actual full-time backup singers that were doing the backup vocals on it, but it's amazing. Very simply orchestrated with your usual piano, guitar, bass, drum set, and then a keyboard. And then, of course, another familiar Gaither Vocal Band song is after that. That's When the Angels Rejoice. Of the two versions I've heard of this song, of course the one by the Gaither Vocal Band and then Singing Americans, I've always gravitated toward this version. And I do prefer it. And it is just a fun song, and the message is very simple, and they're able to have fun with telling the message. And also for a history buff like me, the song talks about history. It talks about the Model T first hitting the street and the first plane flight. It's all about American history and saying how no matter what went on in our history and the great things our country has done, the great things people in our country have done, it pales in comparison to when a sinner comes to know the Lord. And it's such a great message and a fun message to tell. That's the end of side 1 of the album. Side 2 is short because, well, they only have 9 tracks on there. The first one is Build an Ark, which I have to say this is not my favorite. My favorite is always the cathedrals because, the cathedrals are obviously infallible, right? Am I right? No? Okay. But usually their stuff is the best, no matter what other people may say, because, they're wrong. But Build an Ark, and plus this is my review, so stop. If you have any objections, write your own review. Anyway, so Build an Ark, it has kind of a calypso theme to it. If you're listening to it right now, almost like a Caribbean theme, which I guess ark floating on the water, on the ocean. You may want to think you're on a cruise ship, but unfortunately, historically, the ark was not much of a cruise. It was more of a horror story, if you think about it, what's actually going on outside the ark. And it relates to that. It compares the modern life of the modern family being protected from what's outside and bringing your family close together and building an ark of protection and safety around them, because what's going on in the world, it's dangerous for the family. And that's kind of the message of that. The next song is Blessed Messiah. It's kind of more of a ballad. Again, it's driven by keyboards, which I like 80s Southern gospel music, so I personally like using keyboards as a backdrop in some of my music. And this, I guess you could say, is akin to some praise and worship music. But, of course, it can be written as not praise and worship. It can still be good, solid Southern gospel song. Pardon my slip of the tongue, and I washed those teeth and now they're not working today. So that's Blessed Messiah. The next song is actually the first half. I really, really enjoy it. You're listening to it and you're like, how is this a Southern gospel song? But the story is amazing, and it is, it's been told and retold in different iterations. It is a fictional story, but the message of it is how often do we think that we're superior, and because we are in charge, we have all the answers, and then are left stumped to realize that someone who it may be insignificant to us is has a better answer than us, or who we think we're insignificant. We think we have all the answers, but we don't. And that's kind of what I Am the Lighthouse talks about. At the end of the story, the captain of a U.S. naval destroyer is spouting off back and forth with a second-class seaman who the captain thinks is in another ship, only to realize that the seaman is actually in a lighthouse, and it kind of just shows, how our pride can get in the way of reason. The final song on the album is My Face Still Holds. I love it. I love Bill Gaither's smooth baritone voice. People might criticize Bill Gaither because his name's on everything. Gaither Trio, Gaither Vocal Band, Gaither Homecoming Tour. But if you really think about it, other than his name being on everything, he really steps back and lets his other singers get all the singing time. If you notice, he doesn't really get a lot of solos on his old albums. And this is, I think there's maybe one other solo, but the verse of My Face Still Holds is amazing, the way he handles that solo. And then, of course, John Moore, their bass singer, takes over on the second verse. And it's just a great, powerful song to end the album. I would rate this album probably a 4 out of 5, just because, New Point of View is not my favorite song, and the second half of I Am the Lighthouse, I'm just not a fan of the style, I guess. It harkens back to some of the trying to be modern 70s sounds, but other than that, great song, and it is a great album. All 4 members at the time were producers on the album. It's Bill Gaither, Gary McSpadden, John Moore, and Larnell Harris. They did a phenomenal job in this album. I do have the original LP from 1984, and it actually, the sleeve for the record, it's really cool, comes with a sheet of all the lyrics, and that it's actually pretty neat. And so I don't know how to close this review, because, well, I've never done a review like this before, and I think no one ever has. It's actually going to be our first one, hopefully the first in a long series of reviews. So, like I said, this album, I would say definitely, if you can find it, don't pass it up. It is a great album. So it's the new Gaither Vocal Band. Don't forget the new, because they weren't the Gaither Vocal Band in 1984. That didn't happen until, I think, the next year. And then the album's New Point of View. And if you're actually looking on the screen and not just listening, but trying to watch for novelty or something, if you're just listening, the cover is a blue background, supposed to be the sky, and they're in the basket of a hot air balloon, or if for some reason you just see it on the back, it's kind of the same thing, only there's more hot air balloons. So that is the review. I encourage you to pick it up and hopefully watch for some more reviews in the next coming weeks. I look forward to making more of these reviews. And so have a nice week, and happy hunting for albums.